Greetings. Welcome to our table.
Welcome. Thank you. Take a chip.
Well, what can you tease about what Reese is up to and what kind of personality or persona he's kind of taking on when the season starts off?
We'll be talking about hiding in plain sight. Mitch talked about a lot about emphasizing covers, and this is put a glitch in the Samaritan machine that Desmond cannot read, and they cannot find us, but they're still looking for us, and they'll sift us out. Talked earlier about one of my favorite Star Wars movies, Raiders of the Lost. Return of the Empire Strikes Back. Thank you very much.
All great movies, by the way.
Yeah, well, you have the concept of good versus evil in here, and now you have the triumphs of the Empire, and the Samaritan is the potential of what this thing was. We were all concerned about has really come to fruition, and the machine barely has a lifeline. But it is alive. It's still trying to figure out ways to find us, help us out, and help find those irrelevant people and ways to defeat this power that is taking over. And we are without the resources that we've had. We do not have the missions. We do not have the money. All those accounts are frozen. We can't touch them. We don't have the communications that we once had. And basically we had to go underground.
Where do you see Reese's headspace then? From all that? How is he coping with all of this? Or not coping?
As a character that was in a very dark place anyway, it was his one way of saving lives, which has always been it was never trust in this machine. He built that, but the idea of going up against evil or a bully, he's a bully killer by nature. That's what he does. But he killed for the bully and was used by the machine, by his own machine, in a way where killing without conscience. Here's the relevant mission. Forget about these people, and at that cost, it didn't work for him. And so Finch gave him this opportunity to be there in time. And now he can't be there in time. And now he's got the in these first few episodes, it's do we expose our covers to save this one particular number and compromise the entire mission? And then there will be nobody there. There will be no Jedis.
There you go.
You see? So, what do we do? No. But he's better at this than I am.
That was quite eloquent. Sorry, go ahead.
Like, when you're talking about good and evil, I feel like, like last season, I felt like, even though the privacy terrorists were completely wrong, I felt like their logic wasn't necessarily flawed. Kind of felt for them. This next season, like Decima pretty much does feel like evil. Are there elements though, or are there other factions that do have a little more gray area in terms of morality?
Certainly. That's where our show lives and breathes, in the gray area. And I think, like Jim said, everybody's sort of been forced underground. If the first couple of seasons of this show were about, Orwellian surveillance state we were living under, it was our machine. It was one that was friendly towards us. And it, the relevant side, it kicked out things that were a threat to national security. The relevant side was our opportunity to intervene in personal stories. And I think the show still will live there. The only difference now is that there's another machine in charge. And I think this season is about a war between two machines. The question becomes, how do you go up against something that's watching, listening all the time? How do you communicate? How are these guys going to get together again to even do anything about it? Even if the machine were to still kick out irrelevant numbers to them, what can they do about it? Jim said, to act is to endanger themselves. And I think that's the real challenge for this season. Privacy was an issue we dealt with the first 3 seasons of the show. Privacy's dead. Moving on. Season 4 is about artificial intelligence. It's about the race to get it in the world. In reality, what's happening is nation states are trying to develop artificial intelligence. So are all the billionaires in Silicon Valley. I think Google just bought DeepMind. We're talking about something that, an existential risk that we have not seen since the Manhattan Project. And that's a place I think our show needs to be going, where we need to live, and we need to be able to imbue that with a fictional narrative that's compelling, but make it about people. It's like, how do you take this huge science fiction aspect of something that's so overwhelming almost to consider, and ground it in people, and ground it in operatives, and these stories that can make a compelling network show that has a larger story, has something underneath it that sticks to your ribs, that where you walk away from it and you think about it and you go, it's terrifying. I just read I'm reading a book right now called Our Final Invention. Steve Alejandro is a guy we talked to, is going to be on the DVD of season 3, who understands a lot about what's going on in the development of artificial intelligence, and eventually an artificial superintelligence that will be much smarter than a human being, and what that means to humankind. And I think that's a place our show needs to be going. It's exciting.
I mean, it played out right in the morning. I wake up, going to the person of interest, pull my shade, and there's Brooklyn Bridge with 2 surrender flags, white flag, American flags that were bleached out. And they done surveillance, and these guys had covered themselves a certain way, and they didn't get close enough, couldn't recognize their facial identity or whatnot. But they said, "We will find them on social media."
One last question. Well, when you're talking about how do you defeat a machine who knows and sees everything, is there ever kind of like, are you looking at the machine and saying, okay, there has to be some kind of flaw that we know about in order for it to actually be beatable, or are you kind of just writing to the point and you think you'll find that point when it gets to the time to write?
Well, Samaritan is a complicated, extremely complex organism, a machine that's imbued with certain drives, and we think the more interesting idea, it's not necessarily as though that machine is evil, it's that maybe that machine doesn't really care about humankind. It was never coded that way. The drives, the machine only does what it's been coded to do. What it's I think the bigger problem is in the pursuit of whatever Samaritan is doing, that we could all become collateral damage. The only question is, when something like that is that much smarter than all of us, does it have the opportunity to evolve beyond what it was initially coded to do? I think that's a more interesting idea than perhaps any flaws built into it.
There's something I want to tell you so badly that I could kill for it. It's so good.
Well, hold up the ears and
Yeah, I know. But just the fact what Samaritan can do, and the intelligence, and just an idea, and I'll say one word, recruiting. And what, if you look from the perspective of, for example, some of the biggest dictators in history, how they fell on their sword, how they looked like they were unbeatable, and how some, whether it be the revolutionaries in the United States or before, in the colonies, or the Third Reich, taking them down, and how these ragtag groups came together and beat them. And it was through, going underground, hiding and doing things, figuring them out, and being able to beat them at its own game. Guerrilla warfare. You ever train on hard ground, play some guy in a sport where you can be really great on hard ground, get him in the sand, get him in the water. Some great athletes that I got to swim against, they couldn't do anything in the water. Once I got in the water, I could swim like a fish and take them out. But that is kind of the paper, scissors, rock game. And that's what I enjoy when you get these kind of characters and make them human. Here's where the Samaritan might not be thinking. Here's where his weak spot might be. Here's where the Death Star can be taken apart, okay?
Jedi Knight.
Full circle.
Drop the mic.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Have a good
You guys, it was a lot of fun.
Thank you.